And we are joined now by our political analyst, Brian Sobel. Thanks for coming in, Brian.
Absolutely.
Hearing possibly some record numbers there at the polls in New Hampshire. And let's talk about the people who live that state, the Granite State. Is it oversold, you think, as the place that can make or break really a campaign, not only this year, but in years past?
Well, people look at New Hampshire very early on to get an indicator, but history tells us that the person who wins in New Hampshire doesn't necessarily win the nomination. So what it does is it's the first time when people actually go into a booth and vote. And so that is an important trend line for a lot of people who watch these elections.
And New Hampshire has a unique system in its own. Let's talk about the undecided voters and the undeclared voters, people that can just show up, you know, I'm independent, I'm going to vote Republican
or Democrat, or Democrat. Register, vote. It's a unique situation that you don't find in a lot of other states, but it's exciting. You know, tonight is going to be an exciting night.
But Brian, I've heard some of those same voters that we just described that can just show up trying to decide between Trump and Sanders.
Yeah, well,
it's a bizarre combination happening there.
It is, and it's unique, really, almost to the system. In a lot of other states, you're a registered Republican, Democrat. In your primary, you go and vote. New Hampshire's a little bit different, and it's unique.
Let's talk about Donald Trump.
Sure.
So he was leading in the polls going into Iowa. He lost Iowa. Is Donald Trump the one Republican candidate who needs to win tonight?
I think it's important for him to win, and I think we're seeing from the exit polling that he's doing well. That's usually an indicator. Sometimes you can, you know, that can be a mistaken trend, but he's doing very well in the exit polling. So is Ohio Governor John Kasich.
But I thought Trump really, I mean, this is just me, but like that celebrity status at this part in the game would start going down, and maybe we would start to see his political strength or lack thereof a little bit more. And maybe we saw a little bit of that this week in the attacks. And I mean, he was on the attack for a lot of candidates.
Well, Mike, something to consider is that 50% of Republicans who were talked to about who they would choose in New Hampshire said we want an outsider. That's a very important statistic.
Wow.
And so if that trend were to continue among Republicans, that, hey, we've had enough with the elected people, now we're going to try somebody different, that will bode well for Donald Trump. I still think as time marches on, and I think most people feel as time marches on, he'll be tested in many, many different ways, and we'll have to see whether he can sustain that kind of momentum.
We have some early results, just 2 counties, very early. We're going to put those up, and as we're looking, you have Cruz, Kasich, Trump all tying there. Sanders is up. We talked earlier, and you've been on before, Brian, talking about Hillary Clinton. No big deal if she doesn't lose. She's expected to lose. Do you still feel that's the same? If she walks away with a loss in New Hampshire, is she still going to be okay for the Hillary supporters?
Well, I think Bernie Sanders will have proved that he resonates with people, and Hillary is still having
women.
Exactly. Hillary has some core issue problems with certain demographics that Bernie Sanders is really tying into, to his great credit. And so momentum's everything in politics. She has people spread out across the country, so one could say she has an advantage, but Bernie Sanders has a lot of momentum going now.
It's
very interesting.
It is interesting, and it's interesting also when you look at someone like Bernie Sanders, and this is across the nation, so far to the left.
Yes.
And a guy like Ted Cruz, so far to the right, really, who won Iowa.
Yeah.
What does that say about where we are as a country and those being polled right now?
Well, I think some could argue that we're polarized as a country, hard left, hard right. But ironically, a lot of times when you analyze who is being attracted by these people, it's the same kind of people that feel like government doesn't work for them. They're the people who want the outsiders. So it doesn't really matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you are not interested or happy with the status quo, then you start looking for candidates that fall outside of kind of the middle lines. And that's what's going on here.
So Brian, after today, Iowa's done, New Hampshire we done, we look ahead to Nevada, we have South Carolina coming up, then Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, yes.
What will New Hampshire say about this whole process? What will we learn out of New Hampshire, or anything?
I'm not sure we learn a whole lot. It's another state. I think we have to remember it's only the second state.
Only number 2.
You know, number 2, long way to go. But what it'll do is it may suggest to some Republicans, the race is over for me. Time to
some of the governors, maybe.
Yes, right. Time to move on. It may encourage others to stay in. I think if Kasich does really well tonight, he'll stay in and see what his fortunes are in the next couple of states.
I'm curious about Rubio, though.
Well, Rubio had
who had a lot of momentum in Iowa, got pounded in the debate, you know, most would say. I mean, he got hit hard. if he doesn't finish top 2, I mean, does the momentum carry it in?
Well, I think if he finishes in the quote-unquote top tier, so maybe 2 or 3, yeah, he figures, hey, I'm okay.
Good.
That's good. That's a victory. Yep. You know, I love the idea that you finish 3rd and you win.
Great, right?
What's the say? First the worst, second the best.
Right. But Carly, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, almost time.
Well,
I feel like Jeb Bush is going to hold on, though.
Well, he's going to hold on definitely.
Because he has the money, right?
Well, he's got to hold on through South Carolina. South Carolina's been very good to the Bushes over the years, so he's got to see what happens there.
But Jeb Bush, Carly,
I don't know.
Ben
Carson, all these people have to really take stock, because what they're doing is they're diffusing the vote, and
they're spreading it out.
Then that's a problem for the Republicans.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Absolutely.